Out.
Welcome back, everybody. Get Paid for Your Pad is here. And we are your hosts, Jasper Rivers and Eric Miller. And today we're going to talk about a very popular topic that a lot of people have been asking us: how to consistently attract new properties into your business. What's up, Eric?
Yo, what's up, dude? Yeah, I'm excited to do this. We've talked about this in the past. Obviously, a big part of Legends X. And, I think with what's happening with the industry, more and more people are looking to scale. So now that we've kicked the Airbnb Profit Club Facebook group, we kicked that off again and connecting with so many different hosts. We're starting to realize that people still need a unique way of attracting in properties. So, excited to dive into it today.
Yeah. It's interesting because I remember when I first got started, the moment I started talking to my network about Airbnb, everyone was asking me like, "Hey, can you manage my unit? I want to do this. Can you manage it for me?" Right? You didn't need any real marketing or anything. Like just getting the word out in your personal network, in your marketplace, talking to a few people. And even I remember when I first started the podcast, like I was getting inquiries every week. Every week, people were asking me like, "Hey, I've got a unit in this country, in that country. Like, can you manage it?" And it wasn't my plan, but like that's completely changed, right? Like, we can't just rely on word of mouth and just letting a few people know in your marketplace or your network anymore. It's just not. It's not a consistent strategy that's gonna work at this point.
No, man, the golden days of properties just coming to you because you're in Airbnb are kind of over. Like in the early stages of our business, we grew so freaking fast. Tens of properties per week were coming to us just off of word of mouth. Now, that still works because Airbnb is still a hot topic. People are still getting into it. It's becoming more and more popular every single day. But now we have a lot more competition, right? So we as hosts need to do something to stick out. And we got to figure out, okay, yes, we're going to get word of mouth coming to us. And with the plan that we developed and, what we teach inside the Legends X, the plan called the Property Abundance Plan, which we'll touch on a little bit here in this podcast. And then, we touched on it with the training is we want to develop ourselves. We'll still get the properties coming in, but what we have to start doing as Airbnb hosts, as short-term rental hosts now, is becoming an authority in our marketplace, right? So we've talked about this for a while, but now with the amount of competition that's in the marketplace when it comes to short-term rental operators, everyday hosts, co-hosts, all these things, we as hosts have to become what we call top of mind, the authority in our place. So when someone does think of Airbnb, they think of us, right? And we'll touch on what I call the marketing triad here in a second on the three main ways to attract properties in. But the most important and what we're going to chat about is really what we can control the most, which is the authority building in our marketplace. I still think that'll work. Let me rephrase that. That still works. There's effort that you have to put into it, but I still think that this is the most important aspect for every single host to implement into their business to start scaling and attracting in those properties.
Yeah, 100%. There's one problem I see with a lot of hosts is the old strategy of just selling a few people doesn't work anymore. But now the challenge is like there's so many different ways that you could market your services, right? There's so many different channels that you can get into, right? There's social media, or there's like doing workshops, or there's going all in on a website. There's like paid traffic. There's so many different things, and it seems like everyone's having trouble like really choosing what channel they want to use. And then as a result, people do a little bit of everything, and then you're not really getting traction with one particular channel.
Right. Yep. And there's no consistency behind it, right? It's hard starting a business and running and growing a business. And when we first start in this space, getting properties to come to us through word of mouth it's exciting, and we seem to get enough properties. But if we want to start growing, we want to start standing out, we have to choose one model, one thing to focus on when it comes to marketing, and be consistent behind that, right? So I say let's introduce to them the marketing triad, and the one pillar that we're going to focus on. Really, the goal behind this is to become top of mind, right? So when someone in your marketplace, ideally, if you're, and we're mostly talking to property managers and rental arbitrage, but this also works for property investors, right? This is actually a plan I developed years ago when I was flipping houses to find homes. This is how I was able to build my authority in my marketplace to start acquiring the properties that we were looking for. And then as we got in short-term rentals, I started, tweaking this plan, what we call the property abundance plan for the short-term rental space. And there's three main structures to it. One is, if you look at marketing for any business, we have three main pillars to go after. One is what we call free source. Okay. Two, and I'll break all this down. Number one is what we call free source. Number two is what is called paid. And number three is partnerships, right? Those are the three main ways. And, in the training, we go a bit deeper into it. It's like, then you throw on top of that PR, and you throw on top of that sales, right? In there as well. But the triad is like, those are the three main things that every company focuses on, right? How do you develop a brand awareness in your marketplace so people reach out and come to you organically, right? Or you can call free source, which is organic. Paid is choosing your channels, either Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, direct marketing, whatever it is, buying leads, where you have a budget to invest into that to acquire. And then number three is partnerships, aligning with the ideal partners in your place, in your market space, that has your ideal property. They control your ideal property, right? And that could be a real estate brokerage, that could be a, a service provider in your marketplace, right? The challenge, as we're talking about, is most hosts right now, they're kind of waiting for properties to come to them. Or when they find a property that they want to go after, because they don't have a consistent plan in place to reach out to the owners and the properties, they're almost kind of begging for the properties, right? I see this a lot when we talk to our Legends F students. When I ask them, what do you have in place now for your marketing? Most of the time it's like, oh, I see a property on Zillow, or I see a property, a sign or whatever it is. I'm kind of reaching out and I'm just pitching them. They don't have a pitch in place. There's no awareness of who they are as a company. So most of the time they're a little insecure of reaching out and asking for that property, right? So the goal here, as I mentioned, is to become top of mind. How do we become top of mind in our marketplace? It's completely being in front of the people that are thinking about Airbnb with your ideal property all the time, right? You're familiar with CocaCola, right? You know that brand, CocaCola?
No, never heard of it.
Never heard of it? All right. Well, it's a delicious little drink that has a ton of sugar and other stuff in it. But if you ever look at like the Coca-Cola, I call it Coca-Cola effect, right? They've been doing this from day one. Their brand, if you think of Coca-Cola, they are in front of you everywhere you go. Right? Every single sporting event that you go to, I don't know about in Europe, but at least here in the States, every sporting event that you go to, every store that you go to, there's a Coca-Cola sign or product in that place, right? That is the paid side of the triad, but they're focused on being everywhere and anywhere. So when you're thinking of buying a drink, you automatically think of Coca-Cola. Right? And they're always where their avatar is. We want to do, as hosts, we want to do the same thing with our properties, is like wherever our property avatar and partner avatar is, we want to be in front of them, bringing value to them on who we are and what we do. Does that make sense so far?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Right. So it's like, we want to constantly be in front of people. So when they think of being top of mind, or when they think of Airbnb, we come to their mind first, and they're reaching out to us. All right. So before I go deeper into that, like, what parts of this do you want to unpack, or, you know, what are your thoughts on where this is heading so far?
Yeah, I mean, I think a couple things come to mind for me. Is number one is the consistency behind it, right? And you know, I think that's what a lot of people struggle with in general. You have to, because it takes a while to build up the trust that people actually want to do business with you. I read somewhere that that it takes at least 7 touch points for somebody to be in the mental state of like trusting you to do business with you, right? So I think number one is consistency, and I think number two is we gotta recognize that we all have a lot of value to bring. Because when I talk to students, like oftentimes they say, "Well, I don't really feel like an expert. Like I don't really want to like." You know, I don't think I can bring value to this Facebook group, or I can't do like a workshop because, you know, I'm not the expert, you know, I'm just a host, right? And I think what people don't recognize is that even if you're, you know, if you're a host with a few properties, like you, compared to most people, you are an expert, right? Most property owners don't know anything about Airbnb and short-term rentals. So you already know 90% more than 99% of everybody in the world. And you don't have to be like, you don't have to know everything, right?
Right.
I think that's something that's really important to recognize, because I think that's a big barrier for a lot of hosts. They're just hesitant to really start putting themselves out to the world because they have you ever heard of the concept imposter syndrome?
Sure. Yeah, I was just about to mention that.
Oh, yeah. I was, you know, I was reading a blog post about this actually, and I'll put that in the show notes, right? But I experienced this when I first started Get Paid for Your Pet. I postponed the launch of the podcast and the book for several months for no other reason that I had fear of how people would respond to me, right?
Yep.
I felt like, oh, I don't, who am I to, you know, to share this with the world? Like, what are people going to think? People are going to think that I'm not knowledgeable enough, and there's a fear there, and that's called the imposter syndrome, and it's a very well known concept in psychology, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I mean, it's a well-known concept within entrepreneurship. It's interesting. I was listening to, who was it? Oh, it was, I was listening to Adele. I haven't been the biggest Adele fan. But the other day I was watching one of her specials of her performing live, and then answering questions in the audience. It was awesome. I think it's on Netflix or wherever. But she was telling the audience that still to this day, she feels like she is not professional enough, or she feels that imposter syndrome every single time she goes on stage. And you actually, on that that series, as she's performing, she actually broke down in one of the songs and had to restart because she didn't feel confident singing the song, which is crazy because like you hear Adele sing and you're like, wow, this woman is by far one of the best singers on planet Earth, right? She still to this day does not believe that she matches her greatness, right? So we all develop that or battle that. Even the greats that we look up to, like Adele, battle that same thing, right? So once we realize as entrepreneurs that holy crap, even the greats like Adele is dealing with the same exact thing that we're dealing with. The book, what's it called? Not Turning Pro. What's the other book? The War of Art. The War of Art talks about that being the resistance within ourselves, right? Everyone has resistance within ourselves. And if we recognize that, first off, and we're going to tie back why this is important to be talking about here. If we recognize that all of us feel that resistance, all of us feel that imposter syndrome, even the greats that we look up to, Mike Tyson experienced that. John Jones was talking about that. Adele was talking about that. Jasper Rivers from Get Paid for Your Pad podcast is talking about that. Then we recognize, like, excuse me, everyone deals with this. So that's okay. I'm going to recognize it, and I'm going to move forward and stay consistent with my work. That's the biggest part here, is staying consistent, right? So the reason why we're talking about this is part one of the marketing triad, which is what we call the free source, is focusing on developing rhythms and habits in your marketing, in your communication around your business, talking directly to the avatar that has the property that you're looking for. Okay. Now what this looks like is, when I first started the business, and still to this day, what we focus on is creating marketing and free marketing every single day, talking to and bringing value to our property avatar and partner avatar, for the people that control our real estate, right? That we're looking for. And this develops on, choosing a channel that we want to use. We use the podcast. We have our email list. We have Facebook groups. We have a handful of different aspects where we are showing up as the authority and communicating to the world our experience in the space. We're not trying to be experts, right? We are experts to certain people listening to this podcast, but there's other people listening to this podcast that can teach us so much. And that happens every single day. They reach out and they bring value to us, right? That's the beauty of putting yourself out there. And it doesn't have to be you. It could be your brand. You can speak from your brand, but we have to bring value to our marketplace consistently, right? So the imposter syndrome is going to show up as you start talking about your business, as you start talking about short-term rentals, as you start talking to the property owners through your social media and everything else, of saying like, hey, this marketplace, San Diego, on average, earns X amount of dollars per night on these properties, right? And bringing value forward. You're bringing value to those owners, right? And the goal over this, over time, is that we're speaking to the people that control the real estate that we're looking for, consistently bringing value to them, even showing them the how on how they can run their own properties. And within those rhythms and habits, that's where we toss in the ask, right? By the way, if you know somebody who has this type of property that's looking to be on Airbnb, looking for a property manager, or willing to rent to my business, have them reach out to me here, right? So it's like Gary V's jab, 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 right hook. I think it is his book. Jab, 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 left hook. One of those. Does that make sense so far? Oh, you got to read, man. It's unbelievable. The whole concept, and this is how I developed the property abundance plan, is bringing forward value. So it's bringing value, ask, right? So jab, 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 right hook. So it's value, ask, value, ask. And your ask is straightforward. It's like, we are a short-term rental property management company. We're a short-term rental arbitrage company. We're a short-term rental investment company. We're looking for these properties in these areas. Call us here at, contact us here, whatever that is, right? So again, the goal here is to become top of mind by bringing value to your marketplace. And what I want to clarify is the reason why we're talking about the free source section first of the triad is the other aspects, especially paid, takes time and a lot of money, right? So we're going to be focusing on how do we bring value to our marketplace. We're not talking to the whole country. We're not talking to all the markets. We're talking to our one home market that we talk about in Legends X, and we're bringing value to that specific home market, right? So we did this with one of our students last year up in Kelowna. Her market was the Kelowna market. And her idea was to have properties in all these different locations. And now she's managing in different markets. But we said, we're going to have you become the expert in your marketplace, the authority in your marketplace for luxury short-term rentals in Kelowna, right? It's like, that's all we're going to talk about. We want you to start a local Facebook group. We want you to talk on your Instagram, and we want you to create a weekly newsletter. talking specifically to property owners and people who control luxury real estate in Kelowna that have secondary or investment properties. That's who we're going to talk to. And within a couple of months, she started growing her business and became the authority in her marketplace for that niche. And she didn't spend any money to acquire those leads. And now, because of her reputation in the marketplace, the word of mouth is still there, but it's there because she is consistently pumping out that content and value to that marketplace.
So I'll tell you something really funny, because I know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
I'm here in Panama, right? And last week I was sitting at breakfast, and I hear some people speaking English, and we got to talk, and I'm like, I asked them, like, where are you guys from? And they're like, we're from Kelowna. And I was like, oh wow, Kelowna, it's beautiful, and they're like, oh, have you been there? I'm like, no, but we're like, one of our students is there, and she's crushing on Instagram with her business, so I'm always seeing her stories, pop by, and then they actually heard about her. They actually were familiar with her because of that.
Yeah.
So that,
dude,
like,
that's
blew
the
my
power.
mind. I was like, wow, well, it's definitely working what she's doing.
That's right. And it's nothing crazy, right? What we taught in the property abundance plan and what we executed with her is that, hey, 5 days a week, we have opportunities to talk to the people in our marketplace that control the asset that we're looking for, right? So we're going to break that up over these channels. She chose Instagram because it was natural to her, and a newsletter because it was natural to her to create that content. And we literally just mapped out, okay, Mondays are to bring value to your marketplace, right? Marketplace Mondays. Tuesday is to bring specific content to luxury property owners in your marketplace. Wednesday is to show social proof. Share your listings and the success that you have with your listings that week on your Instagram. The next day, Thursday, that's when you go for the ask. This is who we work with. If this is you, reach out to us. And then on Fridays would be a follow-up on whatever the content is. This is the how, right? This is how we get results, right? We did it this way. If you want to do it, follow these steps and you get the results, or reach out to us. And we just consistently pumped that out. And we had to process the rhythms and habits behind this. And she instantly became the authority. And it's not because she was a world-class content creator, right? She actually didn't enjoy doing it. It wasn't her thing. But because she developed the rhythms and habits, she spoke directly to her property avatar, her partner avatar, and she stayed consistent with the rhythms and habits, she became an authority. So, which is awesome, right? It's yeah. So we'll leave it at that. I think, if you guys want to go deeper into this for the listeners, if you guys want to go deeper into this, check out the training we did inside the Airbnb Profit Club Facebook group. So that training will be up there. And then if you guys want to get your hands on this and actually implement this, reach out to us for Legends X. Just go to overnightsuccess.io/X and apply for that. If we bring you into that program, this is one of the big systems that we bring you through and help you implement to get the same results that we got in Kelowna, right? So yeah, if you guys want more in-depth training, check out the Facebook group. If you want support implementing this, apply for Legends X and we'll help you on that. So that's only one part, right? That's the free source of the Marketing Triad.
Yeah, so going back to the triad, right? There's free source, there's paid, there's partnerships, right? Now we touched on paid. Paid's very tricky, right? You really need you need to invest a lot of money. You need to know what you're doing as well, because it's very easy to blow a lot of money. Like, there's a ton of people that will come to you and say, like, hey, we'll run Google ads for you, we'll run these ads for you, and before you know it, you're spending thousands of dollars and you're not really getting a result. So it's tricky. I don't know a lot of short-term rental hosts who've come to me and said, like, hey, I crushed it on the paid side. Maybe the larger companies do, but it's very difficult.
So actually, I was speaking to one of our legends who's in the Rising Star Mastermind, and he has he has a really awesome hotel brand plus a really awesome short-term rental management brand as well. Many units, couple hundred units, and we were texting back and forth about this. He's like, "Dude, I want to talk to." He's like, "Please find me somebody." Property manager or short-term rental investor who has successfully got an ROI from direct bookings, from paid traffic to their properties, right? That one, because you have paid traffic, you have kind of clarify. I've known, for the ones who don't know what paid traffic is, you're investing into channels. The most common channels are Facebook and Instagram, Google AdWords. YouTube is now becoming huge for this as well. And then there's other channels that you can go into. But you have two focuses. You could either pay to get property owners to reach out to you, or you can pay to get guests to book with you. Right now, it's hard to see the ROI on guest booking direct with you compared to what you can get through the cost to acquire a customer through Airbnb or another OTA. Then the question becomes, how do I get more properties through this channel? That works. We did that for a while. We stopped doing that. And the reason behind it is you need a minimum of 6 months to test your Facebook. Let's just say Facebook. You need a minimum of 6 months to test your Facebook ads and understand what funnels are working. How do you get your property owner to stop the scroll, right? The psychology of stopping the scroll, grabbing their attention in 1.5 seconds, and then getting them to click on the ad off of Facebook or what they were there for in the first place, go through your funnel and apply or reach out to you in some way. Right? There's an art to go through that. So you need time and you need money and you need expertise to execute on that. And we always say it's like you need a minimum of 6 months to really test and really understand how to get the best ROI out of your investments there at a bare minimum. Depending on the size that you want to go, you need a minimum of $50,000 to really get into scaling a real campaign, right? That's worth the effort that goes into it. And then 3, you need the expertise who knows how to run those ads, adjust the ads, A/B split the ads to make sure that you're getting real results. Because, I mean, we have experience running ads too, right? It's a big effort. And when it works, it's incredible. But when it doesn't work, it can drain your bank account extremely quickly. And before you know it, you're kind of in a position where you're stuck. You invested quite a bit of money into this thing that's not driving the right leads to you, right? So we hear people all the time that are like, hey, I have 3 listings. I want to develop a direct booking website and invest in ads. Teach me how to do that. Well, okay. Well, what are the goals first off? What's your budget? What's your timeline behind this? And then who's the expert that's going to support you on executing on these leads, right? I'm sure you could do it for a lot less, but I haven't seen that be successful over time for people that are just putting a couple $100 here and there to try to get leads. It just doesn't lead to success. On a bigger scale, it may. One company that we've been chatting about is called Getaway. They're 100% direct to consumer for their properties. They invest quite a bit of money in Facebook ads, mostly for the guests to book, but they also do some for properties. But it's very challenging to see that ROI. So that's why we always say, focus on the free source and focus on your partnership of the triad, right? Leave the paid traffic for after you have a consistent flow of income coming in. You have the budget to hire and implement towards those channels.
Yeah. There's one, a couple things. Number one is you talk about Getaway. Well, they raised a lot of money, right? So
84 million.
If you have, yeah, how much?
84 million.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you have that kind of money, then it becomes like a viable option, and you have the long-term horizon, right? You don't need to make things work within a couple months because you're running out of cash, right? So, but yeah, I think one of the biggest challenges too is, as you mentioned, is who you're going to work with, because there's so many agencies and services that will offer to run the ads, but how do you actually know that those companies are actually going to know what they're doing and they're going to drive you the best result, right? Because it's such a specialty, right? Everything that you mentioned, like the A/B testing, it's so specific to the point where you could run an ad and it'd be, let's say it's an image with some text, right? If you change the image slightly, you might get like 3 times as many people clicking on it. Or if you change the headline slightly, you might get, massively different results. So I think a lot of people don't realize that, of how much of a specialist job this is. You hear people talking about, oh yeah, we're just going to throw some ads on Facebook and that will drive traffic, right? But it doesn't work like that. Like, you just throw something on there, like, you're probably not going to get any traffic, or the traffic is not the type of traffic that you need, right? You're not targeting correctly. So yeah, it's a big undertaking, to get into that.
Yeah. And I don't want to discourage anybody from doing this. What I want to do is paint. A lot of people have, a lot of hosts, especially the hectic host, have in mind that they should have a direct booking website and they should drive paid traffic to their direct booking website, right? Unless you have a marketing experience, or you have marketing experts that are supporting you and guiding you through this process, and you have the budget and you have the time to figure this out, I would stay completely away from that. Look at that as phase 3 or phase 2 or phase 4 of your growth plan, right? We need a growth plan in place. Doesn't mean that you never have to do it, but it means that get it out of your brain, write it down on your growth plan of phase 3 is when we step into paid traffic. Phase 1 right now is becoming an authority in our space. That can happen within 30 days. That can happen within a year. Whatever it is, we have to have that growth plan. So focus on the free source first. Become an authority in your space, not an Airbnb an authority for everybody. Focus on your property avatar and speak to that property avatar. Just like our student in Kelowna, where we focus on luxury properties in a specific area, she became known for that, right? She didn't become known as the Airbnb woman who does everything. She became known as a short-term rental expert in Kelowna who focuses on luxury properties, right? It's very, very niche. So that's all she has to talk about and talk to. It becomes simple. You simplify the process. You don't need 1 million people to follow you, right? You need a small, we were talking about this before. Like, we're seeing so many new Airbnb educators and, all of that pop into the space. And they have these huge followings on Instagram and Facebook groups and TikTok. And you see like, oh, this person has 50,000 people that follow them. Oh, this person has 100,000 or 1 million people that follow them. And then you look at their engagement on their posts and you realize that with just a fraction of what they have there, our engagement is 10x what they have, right? So you don't need a massive audience. You need an engaged audience, right? And better yet, you need an engaged audience that fits your avatar for your business, right? So we want to consistently talk to that. Once we have our authority going, that's when we can go into phase 2 of our growth plan and focus on partnerships, right? And that's a big part of the property abundance plan that we teach, is how to align with experts, or align with services and people in your marketplace that have access to or control your property avatar, the ideal property that you're looking for. And we have a process on how to put together these win-win scenarios to where they start bringing referring properties to us for our business, right? And once we have these machines going and they're pumping out, that's when we can start taking and allocating some of our revenue from these properties, and we have consistent channels that are bringing those properties. That's when we can start investing and allocating some of our capital towards figuring out the paid traffic, right? Because paid is the best way that you can scale, especially outside your marketplace, right? But you have to be patient with that. You have to have a budget, and you need the knowledge to support you on executing on that. So I think that's the best, word of advice here is break these up over phases. Phase 1 is becoming an authority in your marketplace, talking to your property avatar. Phase 2 is developing out your partnerships. Phase 3 is paid, right? Get paid and direct bookings and all that stuff out of your brain. Focus on your OTAs, dial that stuff in, and then start scaling up. Boom.
Amen. I say to that.
Boom.
I think that's a plan. And one thing that I'll add as well is, with the property abundance plan, you need some inspiration, and you need to create content, right? That all actually got a lot easier now with the rise of ChatGPT. So we're now implementing that into the property abundance plan of like, how do we actually leverage ChatGPT to give us inspiration of like, hey, what are 5 things that I can bring value to my ideal property avatar, who is a person that owns this type of property, lives in this marketplace, et cetera, et cetera. And ChatGPT will give you, hey, talk about these 5 things, right? So we can leverage now that tool to make this plan even more powerful,
right?
Which is very exciting.
Yeah, it's very exciting, right? You can, just like Kamon built out 30 days of content, right? Using that tool. And it's like, it's very easy to get that. And she did that for her property abundance plan, right? Is like building out her authority content for her marketplace. And she did it in how long? A couple hours?
Yeah, she spent just a few hours.
Just a few hours.
Do that every month. Yeah, a few hours a month is enough to come up with the inspiration and the content for an entire month worth of content.
Yeah. So
it's amazing.
Yeah. So when we talk about more listings, higher profits, it's like the reason why we named it this is the way to consistently grow your short-term rental business is becoming an authority, partnering with the right people, and then eventually investing into paid traffic. But specifically what we haven't talked about, we touched on it a little bit, is how to narrow down your ideal property avatar. Understanding this is the specific type of property that we specialize as a brand, right? We go into that in Legends X and Rising Stars with the VOS system. And, I'm sure if you guys go back and watch or listen to our podcast, you can find more about that. But that's where those higher profits come from, is instead of saying yes to everything and then instead of investing in things that we don't need in our business yet, we can drive higher profits by focusing on things that, 1, doesn't require a lot of money. 2 is we're pinpointing specific units that we're known for as a brand that drive higher profits and consistency in our business. And yeah, we're not investing into things that we don't need right now. That's the fastest way of going broke, is investing in all these shiny objects and not having a consistent plan of growth behind any of them.
And by the way, we have all of our live trainings. We as you guys probably know, if you've been listening to the podcast, we do training every single week on Wednesday at 1 p.m. PST, 4 p.m. EST. And you can sign up for those trainings at overnetsuccess.io/training. But we have all those trainings recorded in the Airbnb Profit Club. So once you join that Facebook group, at the top of the discussion feed, you'll see there's a section called Featured, and you'll be able to find all the trainings that we've done. So the more listings, higher profits that we did on Wednesday, but also we did training on ChatGPT. We did a training on how to scale your short-term rental business as well. So you can go ahead and watch the replays of those trainings in the Airbnb Profit Club on Facebook.
That's right. That's right.
And with that said, let's wrap up this podcast. Eric, any final thoughts to share?
No, that's it, guys. Just stay consistent, choose your channel, become an authority. And that's it. Reach out to us. Let us know if you guys have something that's working for you now. If you are investing in paid traffic, love to hear how the results are going. And if you have other unique ways on how you became an authority in your space, love to hear that as well.
That's right. That's right. Let us know. Check us out, getpaidforyourpet.com. You'll find the show notes. I'll post up that article as well that I was reading about the imposter syndrome. It's pretty interesting to read that. So with that said, have a great weekend, everybody. We'll be back on Monday with the podcast, on Wednesday with the training, the live training, and then Friday with another podcast. So see you then.
Peace.